What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clever's.
This is our full season spoiler chat review, whatever, for Arcane, the Netflix League of Legends show, because we get nerdy nightly.
And we thought we'd share it with you.
That is right. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about Arcane, a show that we were right on time on. We're squeaking in just as this thing's dropping.
Yeah, the number of people that were checking up on us in our lives to see if we had watched Arcane yet was very funny. Funny. I understand, right? I understand people love the show, and I can totally see why. Yeah, but it was one of those things where we were like, Arcane, oh no, we haven't, more people want, we should really...
Yeah, Frank and Beans, we watched it.
You can
calm down. Well, it's fun. We both stream over on Twitch. I'm over at Nerdy Nightly. She's over at Claris Polaris. And a lot of our Twitch chat was like, have you watched Arcane yet? And we're like, nah, we haven't gotten around to it. Have you watched Arcane yet? No, we haven't gotten... Have you watched Arcane yet? And I'm like, okay, we'll watch it. And so... Okay. I think initially for us, there was a lot of like, well, we don't play League of Legends. Are we going to know who anyone is? Is any of it going to make sense to us? And having now seen it, I think that I can if you're watching this wondering if you should watch Arcane, why would you click on a spoiler chat? But also, I think that there's nothing really inherently about League of Legends in this. I've played League of Legends once on stream. I'll never play it again. Not because it's bad, just because I'm so behind. Like, starting now, I feel like I'm so behind that I'll never really understand what's going on.
You would need like the number of hours of a full-time job for a few months.
I would need to spend so much time in the game, and I don't have any time. It took us 4 months to watch Arcane. I think you can understand. But I think Arcane really stands on its own, and I think that might be the strongest thing about it is that it is based on IP and yet feels like it is an entirely original, unattached thing.
Yeah. And that was our big thing. I was like, I have never played League of Legends.
Yeah.
But you don't have to, which is nice. It's smart of them.
Yeah.
Because you're able to cater to a much wider audience.
Well, and I'm glad they don't do the thing. So for those of you, this is spoiler chat. I'm not going to explain. You know what happens in the show. You've seen it. It's 9 episodes. They're all pretty good. We'll talk about some things that we liked. We'll talk about the 2 or 3 things we didn't. Yeah. And we'll get to all of that. But the thing I like that they didn't do is try and ever have it go into a MOBA. They never try and have the people fight in a battle arena with towers and stuff. Yeah. One of the worst movies I've ever seen, but also like because of this, one of the best is the Battleship movie that Rihanna starred in. And the second act of the movie is the most preposterous like sequence of events to lead to them playing Battleship with actual battleships. And it is so like the hoops that the actors are forced to jump through, saying the worst dialogue, just to get to a point where real battleships are kind of playing something like the board game Battleship is just, it's nonsense. Like, it's literal nonsense. It's so fun. Highly recommend you watch the movie.
It's terrible.
It's terrible, but it's so fun. Yeah. But the problem with it isn't actually the actors, or the problem with it is the like 30 minutes that they spend maneuvering the plot so that everyone ends up in a Battleship game.
Yeah,
Arcane never is like, all right, now we have to get everyone onto 2 teams so that we can have the MOBA with the tower, you know.
No.
There is a bridge sort of at the center of the show, but it never feels like a video game.
Yeah, like it never feels like a video game. If I didn't know that this was supposed to be League of Legends, I might be like, I kind of recognize some of these names. I would never know that it was like League of Legends.
I wouldn't have even recognized the names.
I mean, I recognize
I know Jinx, but I mostly know Jinx from how every cosplay girl has been Jinx at some point.
Well, yeah, and I've had so many people be like, you should do Jinx. And I'm like, I mean, I guess. It's like a rite of passage.
So, Jinx is at the center of this show. So is Vi. The sisters at the center of this, played by Ella Purnell as Jinx. And Haley Steinfeld, who's just having like the banner year of her life.
I did not realize that.
This and the Hawkeye series coming out around the same time. She's also still on Dickinson and obviously was in the Bumblebee movie. So Haley Steinfeld is doing all right on movies and TV at the moment. Yeah. We'll see her in future MCU projects and in, thankfully, season 2 of this. Because, boy, the ending of this show leaves much to be answered. But let's start with let's do this in 3 acts. Okay, there's 3 acts of the show. So Act 1, they're kids. it's a lot of setup. How did you feel about starting at that place?
You know what? It actually didn't feel like setup to me.
Okay.
And I didn't know where this was going. To be honest, right? I had no idea. It did not feel like setup. It felt just like people and like humans trying to make the best out of the situation that they've been given, and they have this beautiful little circle of people. You know, you can really tell that like Vi and Powder love each other a lot, and Vi tries so hard to be protective, but also to not exclude Powder, which it's tough, right? Especially when you feel like you are taking care of a younger person. You know, the boys she's not like related to, so she doesn't. I don't think she feels like it is like her job so much to protect them, and so you know.
But they do feel like brothers to them.
Yeah. It's with Powder, especially because Powder is so young, and her like feelings towards violence, right? Yeah. Like she like can't she can't fight back really. She creates these little like bomb things to try and do it for her. Like she's not, and she changes completely. Obviously,
like she's brilliant. Like she's this like genius level kid who can make these. And obviously in the beginning they don't really work as very often. Yeah, but by the end of the series, like she's without the education and the possibilities of the academy, she is on her own figuring out how to use this hex tech as well as anyone up there is.
Yeah. Yeah. And the father figure that they have, Vander, is I thought that it never felt like setup. I think maybe because they like took the time to spend with the people there and what their relationship was and what their situation was, and I thought like it was really, really well done.
Yeah, I think weirdly the first act is my favorite of the three.
I would agree.
I think that the first 3 episodes are so strong.
Yeah.
Setting up the world. I think that the relationships between the characters and the generational trauma that they're dealing with as they live in the wake of this war that took Jinx and Vi's parents, the war that separated Silco and Vander. I think the relationship between Silco and Vander is really, really strong. I think later, I think the later parts, the more present day parts of the show, we're missing a real relationship between Silco and the opposite side.
Yes.
So much so that when we do, not to jump too far ahead, but when we do finally get the scene between Silco and Jace after the blowing up of the Shimmer Factory, I almost wish that those two characters had been able to interact earlier.
Me too, because it felt hollow compared to the relationship with Silco.
Well, and I think part of the problem was that with the later stuff, the fighting was between people. The fights were about people talking about people they had heard about, whereas in those first 3 episodes, all of the characters who are interacting with one another have these really deep relationships, right? Like Heimerdinger and Jace have a really deep personal relationship going back to when Jace was brought into the academy. I think that like Caitlyn and Jace have this like really deep personal relationship, and then we don't really see Caitlyn and Jace. Caitlyn voiced by Katie Leung, which was really nice to see. The actress who originated Cho Chang in the Harry Potter movies. I really always love to see her pop up in things. I think she's delightful. But I feel like in those first 3 episodes, so many of those relationships are so well developed, and they're interacting with people that they have a relationship with. And because we take the first 3 episodes to focus so much on these relationships that are already fully developed, once we move into Act 2, it becomes about a lot of people meeting new people, which is just like a weird place in a storyline to start having characters.
Like in the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, we get the like sort of relationship between Caitlyn and Vi, which is
not much of anything.
Well, and then they behave as if it's like a romantic relationship in the final episode, and I was like, "Oh, is it?"
Do they?
I never. Well, Jinx kind of insinuates that.
Well, yeah, Jinx is the one who makes more of it than it actually is.
It just doesn't seem like Vi really cares about Caitlyn until Jinx is like, "Oh, you really care about Caitlyn," and then I was like, "Oh, I guess."
I guess so. Sure.
I got your girlfriend, and like Vi's like, "Oh my god," and I was like, I guess they like kind of went through something together. Maybe Vi cares. Whereas in the first 2 episodes, I understood so well how everyone related to each other.
Yes.
And I had a better understanding of how the Undercity related to the Overcity.
Yeah. That relationship kind of got just more and more confusing.
Yeah.
Right? And you were asking those questions. You're like, what do they get out of... Like, why are they connected? Like, why... Like, why don't they just let...
The one thing I don't think the show ever did a good job of, and most of what it did, I think it did a good job of, so I don't want to... I'm like, this is... It's not nitpicky, because I think it is kind of foundational, but I never really understood why the Overcity... What the Overcity's use for the people of the Undercity was.
Yeah.
Because it didn't seem like people in the Undercity worked in the Overcity. It didn't seem like there were any products or goods that came out of the Undercity to the Overcity.
Yeah, like, it wasn't like they supplied the coal
they
for the
seemed so separate.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out... I also couldn't figure out where the Undercity was, because sometimes it was across a bridge, but sometimes you had to take an elevator down.
Yeah.
And, like, sometimes there was a river, but sometimes there wasn't. And so there were a few things like that where I just wish they had really solidly established... Because when we get to the end of the show, Jace is like, we're going to give them their independence. And everyone freaks out. And I was kind of like, why?
But, like, why? Like,
it doesn't seem like there's any value.
Well, yeah. What do they lose? What do you lose by just, like, having a more equal footing relationship with them? Because, yeah, it doesn't seem like they're just taking anything. They're just, like, oppressing for oppression's sake.
Well, and the problem is that the Academy seemed to have so much money and so many resources that it never made sense to me. Like, if you're telling a story about capitalism,
the government,
and that's what gets confused. That's what gets confusing for me, right? Is that, like, because we have oh my god, what is her name? Jace's
with the gold eyes,
yes.
With the gold under the eyes.
What was her name?
Oh,
this is the problem with, like, not having really played the games, is I don't really know who all the characters are.
Yeah, there were a lot of people. Probably in one of the summaries.
Basically, like, the female lead of the
one pulling the strings of the council, yeah.
If her company, because they set up that she's like a financial capitalist at the beginning of the show, that kind of gets lost when her mom shows up, and then her family is like a war-driven culture. But when they set up the capitalism, I was like, oh, so then, like, the people in the Undercity must, like, work in her factories or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And so she...
Mel. Is it Mel?
Is it Mel? It might be Mel. Yeah, I think it's Mel. Mel, so if they had set up that, like, Mel's factories used people from the Undercity, then I would be like, okay, so they're trying to keep those people kind of, like, on the lower class so that they can continue to use them.
Yeah.
But we never see anyone in the Undercity work in the Overcity, or the only goods that we see transition through the Undercity to the Overcity is Shimmer. So, like, the only thing that seems to come out of the Undercity is drugs.
Yeah.
And I never understood the relationship between the two sides of the city.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those shows that, like, started off really strong, and then I think, in a sense, kind of collapsed under the weight of itself.
I don't think it collapsed.
No.
I think it's solid from beginning to end. I just think that it's more muddled through the second half.
Yeah, it's kind of sagged a little bit.
I think that the second half is carried... The first half is carried so hard by relationship and by, like, the world building of it. The second half is carried so hard by the characters. And because the characters are so strong, even in moments when they're not really meeting up with characters that they know very well... The characters themselves are so strong that, like, it's fun and, like, interesting to watch through to the end.
But
the actual, like, political motivations of what's going on were very confusing to me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There was just, like, almost, like, too much happening.
But there was also not enough. Like, when we were introduced to the Council of Drug Dealers, right? And I don't know what any of them did. Like, Shimmer is their only export, right? And so they all make Shimmer and export Shimmer, I guess.
I thought that Silco was Shimmer, and that the others had different trades going to the top, but we never, like, found out what those trades were.
Oh, sure. And, like, maybe I think that if the show had done a better job of establishing, again, like, the relationship between the Upper and the Overcity, because the only thing we know about is Shimmer.
Sense. Yeah, it would make more sense.
And so it's just kind of like, okay, Shimmer is the thing.
Yeah.
And Silco controls that. What are these other guys? What business are they in? I never understood what business anyone was in, really. And the Hex Gates are helping with trade, but I was like, trading what? Like, what is...
Yeah.
There was never a conversation about what the expatriation of goods was.
Yeah.
And so... Or where it came from, or who was making it. Like, we know that Jace's family makes hammers. Okay, but you can make hammers anywhere, right? Like, it's not like a hammer is a tool that you, like, is, like, unique to one part of the world. And so I never really felt settled in what the larger political motivations were.
Yeah.
And it just kind of became like, well, we're the overcity and they're the undercity, so we have to oppress them. Yeah. And I was like, in a very short amount of lines, they could have very easily explained what those motivations were. Mm-hmm. And they never did that. And they saved that time to focus on Jinx and to focus on Vi, and to a lesser degree, I think, Echo and what was going on with Echo's people. Mm-hmm. But the foundational understanding of the political motivations of the characters never really worked for me.
Yeah.
And so the show hinged on how much I appreciated the character work and the animation, honestly.
Yeah, the animation was unbelievably good.
And so the show kind of became hinged on, for me personally, it became hinged on how much I was just absolutely fascinated with the relationship between Silco and Jinx, mm-hmm. right? Like, that really became the center of the show in the second half for me.
Yeah.
And is why I think the show is great, right? Because I really did love those two characters' interactions, and I was so invested in what happened between them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time it kind of cut to the council, I just didn't really care.
Well, it was the same thing for me as well. I was like, I don't think they're going to give me enough information here. And so, mm-hmm. The parts that I cared about were Jinx and Vi and Silco and, and then the whole, like, Jace stuff, I was like, eh.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm not really invested in it. I don't really care that much, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And, like, here's the thing. If I can understand completely what the problem is and what the solution might be, and I have something to root for, then I think it would have been more interesting for me. But I didn't know what the goal was.
Yeah, give me something to root for or something to root against. But I didn't really root against the count. Like, their motivations were never clear enough that I felt like I was rooting against them.
Yeah, exactly.
They all just seemed like they were just in those positions, and things just kind of were what they were. And one example of this to me is that all of the council votes are unanimous.
No.
Yeah, all of them. Every council vote that we see ends up being unanimous.
That's not true.
What do you mean?
The last one's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, 2 people don't have the lights on them.
In which part?
In the last shot. The shot of the table has the lights here. There's one missing here and one missing here.
Oh, I thought that was just Heimerdinger's not there. And there's the empty seat. There's, like, the empty part of where people walk in. But I think all 7 of the lights are on.
But I'm
pretty sure. But my point is, like, I don't, like, oh, I can't open Netflix on this computer.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter. The point that I'm trying to make is that, like, the council, because they set up early in the show that all the council votes have to be unanimous, it doesn't leave room for there to be, like, ongoing conflict in the council, because in order for the plot to move forward, everyone council has to be unanimous. You know what I mean?
I don't remember that every vote has to be unanimous thing.
It is a line early in the...
Okay, yeah, I didn't remember that, and so...
Jace is like, it has to be unanimous, and everyone, like, gets...
No, I don't think every vote has to be unanimous, but for them to kick out the cute guy, the little cutie, mustache...
Heimerdinger.
I'm like, ah!
But, like, also, like, Heimerdinger ends up with Echo, but I didn't understand what the like, and I think that this is the kind of show that desperately needs season 2.
Yeah.
Because the end of season 1 is so...
I don't like it.
It just kind of ends.
Yeah, I don't like it. You give me no reason to come back for season 2. Like, I
don't agree with that.
No, I was watching that. I was like, okay,
I'm so confused. I have to come back because I don't know what happened.
No, I'm like, okay, well, everybody's dead. All right, cool. I guess we're moving on.
But
like, it didn't interest me.
Okay, first of all, I don't think the council's all dead. Right. I think they probably have security measures. They probably have, like, secret glass or something, right? Also, that one robot dude, who knows if he can even die?
I'm sure
I really wanted an explanation about him at some point, because he's the only robot in the entire show.
Yeah.
Like, he's literally the only robot. And maybe if you play League of Legends, you know who he is.
Who that is.
But I was like,
we're like
are we all just like they keep talking about magic, and I'm like, you guys have robots.
Yeah.
Also, there's a whole plot of this where Silco's like, we need the magic to fight the wars, and I was like, you guys have so many weapons. You have guns. Like, once you have guns, magic is it can do more, but it can't do that much more.
Yeah, and when you have people who have the like laser sword arms, like you're kind of fine. Like you're.
And I guess Shimmer is resembling magic for the Undercity in a way, because she needs to take the Shimmer to do that.
Yeah.
So they didn't have magic when they were kids, but it just the Hex Tech doesn't seem as like far advanced a creation outside of the teleportation of goods, which I think is super useful.
Yes,
But like when Jinx loads up her bazooka with Hex Tech with the crystal at the end, I was kind of like, do you need to make a bazooka more explosive?
Well, yeah, I was like, what?
It's already a bazooka.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like everybody just seemed so powerful.
The Hex Tech matter. The Hex Tech is super interesting when it's teleportation for the gates, or when it is like, when it's the creation with the Victor stuff, with the creation of the trees and stuff. Yes. Really loved that.
The stuff with Victor was very interesting.
When it makes the gauntlets, the mechanical gauntlets punch harder, I go, okay, why do you need magic for that? You know what I mean? And I don't think the show ever really explained. And maybe this is another like League of Legends thing. I don't think the show ever really explained why you need magic to have a big hammer. Like, does it make it lighter?
I don't know. Maybe it must.
It must, because Violet's punching those gloves.
Yeah, like those would be so heavy for a human to. Yeah. And look, and it's magic, and it's like, okay, whatever, it's fine. But it just nothing was ever really talked about or explained in a way that like.
And
I don't know.
And that becomes the interesting thing about the show, right? Is that it hinges on like, if you buy into what's going on with the characters, the show is fantastic, right? Because the animation style is unbelievable. The combat animation is especially around Jinx and the way they use different animation styles around Jinx, like unbelievable, like genuinely unbelievable to look at.
There were so many poster moments, and like each one was like better or just as good as the last. You know, like every moment, every detail was so like it felt like agonized over and designed to a T, and it was so just. I felt like I was just watching the most beautiful artwork unfold in front of me, and I want to just give the show like credit where it is due, because the art itself was moving.
Oh yeah, incredible. Me. Yeah, and I think that like that is, you know, there's a lot of animation coming out right now. I think that like Arcane is one of the most beautifully animated things I've ever seen. Yeah. Regardless of how I feel about the world building in the second half of this season, like it is without a doubt some of the best animation I've seen in my life.
Yeah. I literally was like, I want this style to be the animation like for my YouTube
for my channel. Yeah.
I was like, I want it, and then you know it's expensive to do. It's just it's a unique animation style, and I was like, okay, well, I can't afford that right now. And I was like, maybe one day I can have like an Arcane style intro for my YouTube videos.
I have a feeling that a lot of my hesitancies about what happened within the second half of the show will be resolved in the season 2. So like, I want to be careful about saying that like, I think that like, I don't think the show's bad in any way. There is just a lot of stuff that's left hanging for me to wonder at right now. I hope that season 2 comes soon.
Fair. I don't think the finale was that good. And
I really like the stuff at the dinner table.
Sure. Individual scenes were good, but I mean the story itself as a whole. Like it was just like you and I talked about this, where it was like the show is just kind of like, how many times can I make you cry?
Oh, it is very much the not Last of Us. What is that show? This Is Us.
This Is Us.
It's like tragedy porn where everything has to be sad the whole time.
Yeah, everything is like I want to hurt you right in the feels, and I'm not like, I don't know. It's not really my vibe. I like a variety. I don't just want to sit there sobbing. And I think I felt like it was trying to do that, and so I ended up like.
I think I
didn't like tear up.
I cry at everything.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't cry at this because it felt like the show was trying to be like, you should cry now.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I definitely felt that as well. And so it's like, oh.
The most emotional moment in the whole show to me is Vander's death.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, that scene.
The first
was
3 episodes are so strong. Like the first 3 episodes are genuinely remarkable.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
It really is like once the like time shift happens, things get a little muddled.
Yeah, I think that's it. It just wasn't as clean.
Yeah.
And like, all this all this being said, I still really enjoyed watching the show.
Oh, of course.
There's so much that
it's really good.
like about it. I just think there were some places where it did hit the mark, and I know everybody out there right now is like, Arcane is the best thing, and like, I get it. I do. I understand, especially people who like the, This Is Us was such a huge hit.
Yeah.
People love that, and like that is that is totally fine. Like, no dig towards you if this is like really your vibe. But yeah, for me, I just felt like it was like really trying to like make me cry, and I don't like it when I'm like,
I would have appreciated if they'd simplified the politics a little bit to make them a little bit more accessible.
Yeah, I agree with that as well, because it was difficult to follow, and like you said, there were parts that were muddy, and I think they could have trimmed a little bit of fat to make it easier to follow for your average person.
Well, and also just like, if they, it's one of those weird things where Piltover at the beginning seems financially great. Like, they seem like they're in a good spot, right? The Undercity stuff is like messy and complicated, but Piltover's fine. Then Jace introduces Hex Tech, and okay, we can do better than we were doing.
Yeah.
But how? Don't really know. Like, what does Hex Tech do? Magic, maybe? I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And then if Piltover had been like on the verge of collapse, or like if things had been bad in Piltover in the beginning, and Hex Tech had kind of like saved it, or like given people a way out of a bad situation, but like Mel's motivation through the beginning of the show seems to be like, oh, like this could make money. And then I think it does. Like, the Hex Gates are great. The Hex Gates make so much sense.
Yeah.
Financially.
But
everything beyond that doesn't.
Yeah, we don't see the shift. We don't see a change. We don't
also, Mel does not age.
No.
Because there's what, like 8 years? I don't know what the time shift is, but
she's the most beautiful person I have ever seen, like, animated ever.
Oh, Mel, yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, also, the use of the sex scene between her and Jace, but cutting back to Victor like mutilating himself was disturbing.
Yeah.
I was like, it was good. And see, that's the stuff that's so good about the show.
Yeah.
The opera scene, fantastic. I do appreciate that they did it wasn't an opera scene, obviously it was a violinist. I don't know if that's actually a violin. It seemed like a violin.
Some music.
It was like a violin bagpipe combo instrument. It so clearly emulated the squid opera scene from Revenge of the Sith between Anakin and Palpatine. Yeah, it's the squid opera from when Palpatine tells Anakin the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, wait, what?
So the parallels between those two were so fun to me, and so there was great stuff, like really, really wonderful stuff. I just wish they had like laid some ground rules for what the world was earlier in the show, so that I just wasn't wondering like what exports you guys talking about. They spend so much time in council rooms and stuff talking about my goods are gonna come in a year later, and I was like, what goods?
Yeah.
Does that and are the goods like food? Like, is the city not gonna have food, or is it just like TVs? Like, no, but what I mean by that is it like
shortage?
Is it necessities or is it?
No one can get their PS5.
Consumer goods, right? And I think that if I had a better understanding of that, I would have enjoyed the politics more. But instead, I like really cared when it was about Jinx, Vi, and Silco, and I really did not give a shit about the council because I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know what they wanted. I kind of knew what Mel wanted, but even that got weird when her mom showed up, and then I was like, oh, she doesn't work for her mom. She works for herself, but her mom owns the company, or she has her own company. All of the council stuff, it just started to get so weird. And then they kicked out Heimerdinger, and he just like hangs out in the Undercity for like a couple scenes.
Just walking along a beach, stumbles onto Echo. And Echo brings him back to their tree. I was like,
I just found myself waiting for them to leave the Upper City stuff and just hang out in the Lower City. When Caitlyn comes down, great. But the Undercity is so like interesting and cool and makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the Undercity, and then the Upper City just kind of didn't. I was like, okay, Jace builds a giant. He just has a hammer, and I get that he has a hammer in the game, but like, and I get that his family makes hammers, but I was like, oh, when did you build yourself this hammer? At what point did Jace decide he was going to go into the fight himself? Like, they're like, we're gonna raid the Shimmer thing, and then Jace shows up with a hammer and like a suit. He's like he goes ready to go.
And I'm like, dude, you are a scientist. When have you ever had any kind of combat training ever?
Those are the things that I was like, okay, cool.
His family makes hammers, but still, he's a scientist. He went to science school to study tech, and now he's a council member. He doesn't have, he doesn't.
At no point did I understand why he was fighting.
No.
And then he kills that kid, and Vi's like, oh, you gotta move on. And I was like, what?
Yeah, it's like, all right, cool.
And Jace is cool. And here's the thing, I like the character. What happens in the Upper City,
the character
interesting.
The character development is like a strong 11 out of 10. Mm-hmm. No, it's not even the plot stuff. It's the foundational setup for things was just lacking.
They never take an elevator down to the Undercity again.
Yeah.
Like they do in the opening episode.
Yeah.
And then at every other point, they just kind of either
go.
There's a gondola, or they jump off of buildings, or they just cross the bridge. I don't know what the bridge was to.
I don't know.
Because it looks like there's a city on the other side of the bridge, but then you have to go to the underside, which is the Narrows, I think.
The map was very confusing to me.
I could have used some help. I could have used some help with the understanding that stuff, because it would have been less distracting. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm just repeating myself, but the Silco Jinx Vi stuff is fantastic.
I know.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's
Jinx
the highlight.
is crazy. Jinx having her childhood friend as a doll in her room is so dark and twisted. The way that they portray Shimmer, the way they portray Silco as a real human being with complex emotions, despite being the absolute worst. He's very complicated.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's so much about the Undercity that's so good that I just wish I liked the other half of the city as much.
Yeah. I'm with you 1,000%.
Because when they blow up when Jinx blows up the council chamber at the end of the show, I was like, okay.
Well, that's why I was like, oh, I should feel more here. And I was just kind of like, oh, I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's why I'm like, I mean, I'll watch season 2. The artwork is incredible, but as far as the story goes, I'm like, I don't really give a crap, and that sucks. And that's why I'm like, I don't like it. It's
now that Silco's dead.
Which basically, everybody loses. Everybody right now is on the losing side, and I have nothing to root for, and no one to root for, and no goals that I want people to achieve. The only, spark of hope, right, is Heimerdinger and Echo, and this,
But they're not even main characters.
Well, no, they're
barely in the
off
show.
at the side with some other people, and then, that's the thing. I was like, oh, everything sucks for our main characters, and, I don't see a way for it to get better. All right, well...
Well, most of our main characters are dead. I'm assuming that Jinx's missile works, but then the problem becomes, if the council aren't all dead, how did they survive? You know what I mean? Did Jinx just get the missile wrong? Did she build spend an entire season on that and it didn't work?
Maybe there's a Hextech shield where it explodes half of the building, but the people and I don't know. And I wish that they had given us something at the end there, as opposed to just leaving it at the most bleak of bleakness you could ever have thought of. It's just so ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come back to season 2 for Mel's mom alone. She can step on me, and I will thank her. She's all kinds of woman. Mm-hmm. She looks great. She looks, When she's in that bathtub, I was like, okay.
Yeah, right. And she'll.
You're into Mel. I'm into her mom.
Honestly, but her mom also
Yeah, I don't know. I really liked it. I really, really liked it. But then every time an episode would end, I would really enjoy it while I was watching it, and then an episode would end, and I would really think about what I just watched, and. Yeah. Maybe if I binged it, I wouldn't have this, but because we kind of watched one episode a night, I just kind of I would leave a lot of episodes being like, wow, I really don't care about the council. Yeah. And I think that it's what some people feel when they watch the Phantom Menace, and they're like, I don't care about politics in Star Wars, and I love the politics in Star Wars, but I really, because I kind of know what they're about. Yeah. This I never really got. There's the one guy who's portly and with the mustache, and every time he would complain about his exports and imports, I'd be like, I don't know what you do
and why it matters.
The only business I know is that Jace's family builds hammers. Like, okay. They must be really cool. Maybe they're like the hammer he has at the end, just without the hex tech. But I was like,
I don't know if everyone's walking around with those. I don't know. That's a lot of metal. It's very heavy.
I don't know. I feel like we're gonna get like. I feel like people are gonna be like, you guys just didn't like the comments on this are gonna be awful.
The comments on this, people are gonna be so salty that they love a thing and we don't.
Oh, I love it. Here's the thing, I really like it.
We do really like it.
I just have criticism.
You can love a thing and acknowledge that it's not perfect and it has problems.
Yeah. The first 3 episodes to me are like
perfection.
9.5 out of 10. Yeah. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah.
The next 6 are like. The Undercity stuff is amazing. Some of the Jace Mel stuff is really awesome. The Caitlyn stuff is really awesome. Everything else with the episode I don't care about. And that's how I feel about it. It really is about my enjoyment of this show depends on which part of the show they're focusing on in each scene. And so my experience of an episode in the last 6 episodes does a lot of this because they'll cut to like stuff that I'm like, I don't know I don't really understand how this world works. So this is meaningless to me. Yeah. And then they'll come back to Jinx and I'm like through the roof. I'm like the performance is incredible. Haley Steinfeld's performances, Vi is incredible.
Yeah.
And the combat, all of the combat, amazing.
Looks unreal.
Some of the best animation, if nothing else, this should win best animation at every award show this year.
Yeah. Really like unbelievable.
I think that like of the animated shows I've watched this year, and I feel like I've watched a lot of the big ones, this would without a doubt win the Emmy for me.
For me, yeah.
For best animated show.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best animated things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it is a style.
You just don't like animation that much.
No.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of complaints about this show. This is the best animated thing you've ever seen?
No, I mean the animation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean the animation itself is like unmatched and so creative. And I think that's phenomenal.
Who's your favorite character?
My favorite character. Oh gosh. That's a good question. I don't actually know. I feel like no. Who's your favorite character?
Silco.
Silco?
Yeah, because he's
complicated.
Did things like I don't like him. You know what I mean? Like I'm glad that he got comeuppance at the end. Like I'm not like saying like I support his point of view, but in terms of like my interest in the show it's him, right? Like his relationship to Vander, killing his brother who betrayed him, through him taking in Jinx, not really knowing why, but having like a plan for it, but then ultimately like really loving her and having this like Silco's arc to me is the best part of the show and is the thing that I kept coming back for. Yeah,
I think that's fair. I don't know. I have Silco's stuff was all really fantastic. Like he's as a character fascinating. I also thought that Victor was too.
Oh, Victor's great. Yeah.
I thought that was, and that was like the upper city stuff, but it felt so removed from everything else.
But Victor isn't. Victor's lower city.
He is.
Victor counts as lower city stuff.
Well, I mean, he lives in the upper city. But yeah, his stuff was kind of removed from all the like political stuff. It was just like,
you know what? It isn't really upper city, lower city. It's the political shenanigans and everything else.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of political shenanigans.
Yeah.
But also, like Silco's political shenanigans don't really make sense to me either. So, like, I'm double standarding because I found Silco's character stuff so fascinating. But
yeah, there are also some stuff like I really loved. I wish she had been more of a main part, but there was no time. Caitlyn stuff was really fun, fascinating. How she interacts with Vi, the choices that she makes despite knowing the danger. And her relationship with, she grew up very privileged, but like really wants to do right by people. And I think that's really wonderful.
I want to know how Jinx got into Caitlyn's house when Jinx was like the most wanted person on the planet.
No idea.
If Jinx can just get anywhere, I don't know why you even need a rocket launcher.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, maybe the rocket launcher needed a hex tech to go that far. Maybe like it was a distance thing. It couldn't have got a rocket couldn't have gotten all the way to the dome.
Maybe
without the hex tech. That would make sense. It wasn't about the explosion. It was about the distance.
It's far.
You could shoot from the Narrows all the way to the council chamber.
Yeah. Maybe. That checks out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. There's so much good. There's so much good.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, like I would give this like a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Maybe an 8. Maybe an 8.
I go 7.5.
Yeah.
Like the finale really kind of.
The first 2 episodes though, 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
First 2
so
episodes.
good. I'm just like the finale is the last thing that I remember, and like you gotta. Yeah, if the finale doesn't do it for me, then
So this has a similar structure to a movie we watched last year. I feel like you had similar feelings about, where it very much is first half of something. So in terms of this and Dune, which do you feel told a better story, given that they're half a story?
This.
Okay.
Arcane, for sure. Because the problems that I had with Dune were also that, like, the characters were, like, blah. You know what I mean?
The characters are not blah here.
No. The characters are everything, and I love that. Like, the best part of Dune was Jason Momoa and his character. But, like, they did things with Paul that, like, after having read the book, I'm like, I don't like that. They, like, ruined the character Jessica. There was so many, like, the people in it were just not that interesting to me, whereas it's the exact opposite in Arcane. And for me, that's more important. But it's funny, they are both visually stunning.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to.
Yeah, those visuals are really, like, incomparable.
Yeah, what's so funny is the muted colors of Dune versus like they're both visually stunning, but in such different ways.
Very different, yeah.
Whereas like this is so colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I liked it. I definitely had reservations about it, and I agree. The ending, it either wipes so many pieces off the board for season 2 that our main characters that I feel like have not had their storylines paid off, or a bunch of people survive an explosion that I feel shouldn't.
Yeah, I know. At least Caitlyn's mom is gonna die.
Oh, so that Jinx kills Caitlyn's mom. That, yeah, probably.
Yeah, that at least will happen, I'm sure. But
yeah, that's so, yeah. Huh, I didn't think about that. I don't know. What do you think is going on with the woman with the clockwork necklace thing?
I don't know. She was barely in it.
They love to cut to her necklace moving though.
Oh yeah, but I don't know a damn thing about her.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The robot and her were the 2 people in the upper city. I was like, I really want to know what's going on. Like, does she need the like neck thing to live, or is it just ornamentational?
Decorative, yeah.
And if it's just decorative, that's such a bold, like, how, because every time it cuts to her, the entire time I'm thinking, how does she feed herself? You know what I mean? Like, and they never show her put anything in her mouth. They never show her drinking. I don't think. Maybe they do show her drinking, but like.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure.
It baffled me every time I looked at it. Maybe it's not as big in the show as it is in my head. In my head, it's massive.
Yeah.
It's like up to like here. And then she's like...
Nerdy asking the real questions. That's a good look.
I don't know. It just... I really wanted them to do an episode deep dive just on her day-to-day.
She just has someone do everything for her. Because
if that's there all the time and she puts on clothes underneath it, like, she hasn't seen her own boobs, like, in forever, right?
Yeah, because you wouldn't be able to look down.
Yeah.
She's like, do I have feet anymore? I think so. Like,
well, no, your feet you could see, so you can put them on front.
Kick out, but yeah. I don't know what my sternum looks like.
Yeah, what if she has, like, a mole that she needs to get checked out, but she can't see it, so it goes too far, and then suddenly, melanoma.
Wow. Wow, all right.
What was the best fight sequence in the show to you?
The best fight sequence was the sequence on the bridge with Vi before Powder blows everybody up.
See, I hear what you're saying, and that's top 3 for me. But number 1 is Vi on the bridge in episode 3 when they're rescuing Vander.
Wait, that's exactly what I said.
No, you said wherever. You said the bridge on.
I said the bridge. Yeah, in episode 3, before Powder blows everybody up with her first little bomb.
I thought you were talking about the other bridge fight.
This freaking guy right here.
No, because
you like that fight?
When
You're
you said
wrong.
Powder blows, when you said Powder blows everyone up, my brain immediately went to when Jinx's butterflies blew up the bridge in episode.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah.
It's funny because they're very similar, right?
Lots of bridges and lots of explosions.
Actually, there is sort of, there's a huge similarity between those two bridge fights.
I'm sure on purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, the one
Except that Jinx is the bad guy in the second one, and Jinx is, very much
unintentionally does damage in the
well, and the explosion in the second one is intentional, and the explosion in the first one is much bigger than she thought it was going to be.
Yeah, she had no idea what she was putting in that little monkey bomb. And, Vi...
Lots of bridges.
Yeah, but Vi, that first big fight where they're rescuing Vander, and she's taken on each of Silco's people. Luckily, the bridge is there, so she don't have to deal with them all at the same time. But yeah, that's my favorite fight.
Yeah, the one fight that I wanted to like more than I did was the second fight between Vi and Silco's second in command.
In the finale?
Yeah, because it just played out too much like the first one.
Yeah.
Except that his second in command suddenly had a laser sword out of her arm. Yeah. And I was really enjoying the like boxing combat between the two of them, and then the laser sword came out, and it took me out of it for a second because I was like,
she's a lightsaber.
But like, what is the laser sword made out of?
Out of the purple, I don't know.
But the shimmer changes the people. Right? Like the shimmer takes you and like enhances you. Like in the beginning it makes you really big. And then suddenly she just had a laser hand. Yeah. And I was like, okay. Sure. I guess she's had a lightsaber this whole time and just wasn't using it.
No. I don't think she had that whole time. I think that was like an upgrade.
When?
I don't know.
The only person who could have built it who's smart enough would be Jinx, and Jinx and her do not get along.
No, because
there's also the doctor dude. What's his name? Savage Opress. I'm just gonna call him Savage Opress. That's not his name. But yeah, I really wanted the rematch, and then it became like Power Fists v Laser Sword, and I was like, all right, I don't.
It's fine.
Yeah. Their first fight was more interesting to me.
I agree with that.
Because it was less about the tech and more about like them.
Yep. And
I wish that the second one, what I wanted was for the second fight for them to both drop their tech and go mano a mano and
that
like hand to hand.
Yeah.
As opposed to just showing off their new toys.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But that's me, and that's you. And if you like this video, like and subscribe to this channel. If you don't, leave me comments down below. You're going to do it anyway. This is a League of Legends video, which means...
Oh, we're going to get some toxic boys.
I can't wait to read what you say about me.
Because I'm definitely going to read it.
I mean, I read every comment on this channel.
I don't.
I read every comment on this channel. That's why I have depression. You can follow us around the internet. I'm at Nerdy Nightly.
I'm at Claris Polaris.
And come back soon and see us. We'll be here.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.